Welcome to the tutorials on Linux. This is first of the 18-part video series helping you become a Linux pro. So let's get started. So what is an operating system? Every time you switch on your computer, you see a screen where you can perform different activities like write, browse the internet, or watch a video. What is it that makes the computer hardware work like that? How does the processor on your computer know that you are asking it to run an MP3 file? Well, it is the operating system or the kernel which does this work. A kernel is the program at the heart of any operating system that takes care of fundamental stuff like letting hardware communicate with software. So to work on your computer, you need an operating system. In fact, you are using one as you read this on your computer. Now, you may have used popular operating systems like Windows, Apple OS X, but here we will learn what Linux is and what benefits it offers over other OS choices. So what is Linux and who created it? Linux is an operating system or a kernel which germinated as an idea in the mind of young and bright Linus Torvalds when he was a computer science student. He used to work on the Unix operating system and thought that it needed improvements. However, when his suggestions were rejected by the designers of Unix, he thought of launching an OS which will be receptive to the changes, modifications suggested by its users. So Linus devised a kernel named Linux in 1991, though he would need programs like File Manager, document editors, audio-video programs to run on it. Something as you have a cone but no ice cream on the top. As time passed by, he collaborated with other programmers in places like MIT, and applications for Linux started to appear. So around 1991, a working Linux operating system with some applications was officially launched, and this was the start of one of the most loved and open source OS options available today. The earlier versions of Linux were not so user-friendly as they were in use by computer programmers, and Linus Torvalds never had it in mind to commercialize his product. This definitely curbed Linux's popularity as other commercially oriented operating system, Windows, got famous. Nonetheless, the open source aspect of the Linux operating system made it more robust. But now, Linux has got its due attention. The main advantage of Linux was that programmers were able to use the Linux kernel in order to design their own custom operating systems. This has now made Linux one of the most popular and widely used kernel, and it is the backbone of popular operating systems like Debian, Ubuntu, and Fedora. The list doesn't end here, as there are thousands of operating systems based on Linux which offer a variety of functions to the users. So what are the benefits of using Linux? Linux now enjoys popularity at its prime, and it's famous among programmers as well as regular computer users around the world. Its main benefit is that it offers a free operating system. You do not have to shell hundreds of dollars to get the operating system like Windows. Other benefits are, being open source, anyone with programming knowledge can modify it. The Linux operating systems now offer millions of programs and applications to choose from, most of them free. Once you have Linux installed, you no longer need an antivirus. Linux is a highly secure system. More so, there is a global development community constantly looking at ways to enhance its security. With each upgrade, the operating system becomes more secure and robust. Linux is the operating system of choice for server environments due to its stability and reliability. Mega companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google use Linux for their servers. A Linux-based server could run non-stop without a reboot for years on end. So is it for you? Users who are new to Linux usually shun it by falsely considering it as a difficult and technical operating system to operate. But to state the truth, in the last few years, Linux operating systems have become a lot more user-friendly than their counterparts like Windows. So trying them is the best way to know whether Linux suits you or not. I am asked to learn Unix, then why Linux? Unix is the mother of the operating systems, which laid out the foundation to Linux. Unix is designed mainly for mainframes and used in enterprises and universities. While Linux is fast becoming a household name for computer users, developers, and server environment. You may have to pay for a Unix kernel, while in Linux it is free. But the commands used on both the operating systems are usually the same. There is not much difference between Unix and Linux. Though they might seem different, at core they are essentially the same, since Linux is a clone of Unix. So learning one is same as learning another. This was a short introduction to Linux. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on selecting a Linux distribution and types of installation. Now that we know what Linux is, it is time we learn how we should install it on the computer and choose which distribution we should use. Let us start by understanding what a Linux distribution is. Well, now as you know that Linux is an open source free-to-use kernel, it is used by programmers, organizations, profit and non-profit companies around the world in order to create operating systems to suit their individual requirements. These versions, types, kinds of Linux operating systems are called distributions or distros. So how many distributions are out there? There are hundreds of Linux operating systems or distributions available these days. Many of them are designed with a specific purpose in mind. For example, to run a web server or to run network switches like routers or modems. The latest example of one of the most popular smartphone-based Linux distribution is Android. So let us learn about some popular Linux distros. Starting with Arch Linux, this Linux distro is popular amongst developers. It is an independently developed system. It is designed for users who go for a do-it-yourself approach. The next is the CentOS. It is one of the most used Linux distribution for enterprises and web servers. It is a free enterprise class operating system and is based heavily on Red Hat Enterprise distro. The next is Gentoo. It is a source-based distribution, which means you need to configure the code on your system before you can install it. It is not for Linux beginners, but it sure is fun for experienced users. Linux Mint. It is one of the most popular desktop distributions available out there. It launched in 2006 and is now considered to be the fourth most used operating system in the computing world. Next is Ubuntu. This is the third most popular desktop operating system after Microsoft Windows and Apple Mac OS. It is based on Debian Linux distribution and it is known for its desktop environment. So which one is the best Linux distribution? Well, each Linux distribution is built for a specific purpose to meet the demands of its target users. Most of the distributions are available for free at their respective websites. You might want to try them one by one till you get to know which distribution you like the most. Each one of them offers its unique design, applications and security. We will be using Ubuntu for our learning purpose as it's easy for a beginner to understand. Now let us look at the various methods we can use to install Linux. The first type of installation is from the USB stick. This is one of the easiest methods of installing Ubuntu or any other Linux distribution on your computer. So let us start with the USB stick installation. For this, you are going to need the Ubuntu ISO or OS files. You can download them by visiting ubuntu.com/download/desktop. Let's visit this page. As you can see here, there are two versions of Ubuntu available free for download. Let us go ahead and download Ubuntu 12.10. The second software that you are going to need is a program which will install the Ubuntu ISO files on the USB stick. So for this, you can install the universal USB installer available for free at pendrivelinux.com. So let us go ahead and download it. So once you have the Ubuntu ISO files and the universal USB installer downloaded on your computer, it's time to run the universal USB installer. The first step is about selecting a Linux distro. The drop-down menu here shows the list of different distributions and their versions. We will choose Ubuntu 12.10. Next, you need to click on Browse, and here we have the Ubuntu 12.10 ISO files on the desktop. So go ahead and click on it. Now you need to choose the USB flash drive. So let us go ahead and click on this drop down menu here. It shows that we have a USB stick mounted on the drive I. So let's select it. Now if you want to format the USB flash drive before it installs Ubuntu, you can click on Format the drive. Then click on Create. You would get a pop-up message informing you that the Universal USB installer will work on the following actions. Click on Yes. Then the Universal USB installer program will start moving the Ubuntu ISO files to the USB stick. Once done, you have the USB stick ready with Ubuntu to install it on your system. So let us go ahead and click on Close. Now your USB stick is an installation media with Ubuntu on it. Now you can boot your computer through this USB stick and you would be able to run Ubuntu without installation. The second method of installation is by live CD. This is another effective way of installing Linux on your system. For this, you again need to visit ubuntu.com/download/desktop in order to download the ISO files. Once you're done with the download and you have Ubuntu installation files on your computer, burn them to a CD, and then you need to boot your computer through the optical drive and follow the instructions as they come. The next and the most popular method to install a Linux operating system is virtual installation. It offers you the freedom of running Linux on an existing operating system already installed on your computer. This means if you have Windows or Mac OS running, then you can just run Linux with a click of a button. Virtual machine software like Oracle VM can install Ubuntu in easy steps. Let us look at them. Again, you first need to download the Ubuntu ISO files on your computer. Then you need to download the installation files for Oracle VM VirtualBox. As we are running on Windows right now, we will go ahead and download these files. So let us download and install Oracle VM on the computer. Once done, you need to click on the VirtualBox icon on your desktop, and this is the screen that would open. Then you need to configure the virtual operating system by clicking on New, which will create a new virtual machine. You can have multiple OS installations in your virtual machine at the same time. Then click on Next. Type in a name for your virtual machine and then choose the operating system and the version that you would like to install. Click Next and define the memory size for the virtual machine. Right now, the memory allocated for the virtual machine is 512 MB. You can always increase the base memory size for the virtual machine. Then click on Next. Create a new hard disk. This does not create a new drive like C, D or E in your machine. Instead, it creates a VDI, which is a virtual disk image. This virtual disk will contain your OS installation. Click on Next and you will find that there are many options to create a virtual disk. Choose VDI, which is VirtualBox Disk Image. Select between dynamically allocated or fixed size virtual disk storage. A dynamically allocated virtual disk file will only use space on your physical hard disk, which is used by your VM installation, while fixed size will use the entire allocated space in your physical hard drive. Click on Next. Define the location for virtual disk file on your physical hard drive and the file size. The recommended file size is 10 GB. Click on Next. You are then shown a summary screen. Click on Create, and this is the virtual machine that we created. So let's go ahead and power the virtual machine. This will boot Ubuntu on VirtualBox. Now let's go ahead and install Ubuntu. If you want to download updates while installing, you can check this tick box. Let's click on Continue. So if you want to go ahead and install Ubuntu directly, you can choose this option here. It will not affect the hard drive, instead will only erase the virtual disk that you have created. Otherwise, if you want to work on the partitions, you can choose something else. Let's go ahead with erase disk and install Ubuntu right now and click on Continue. You can type in the city you live in here and then you need to click on Continue. Then choose the language that you would want to work with and click on Continue. Now this is an important step and it would define your rights on the Linux system. So put in your name here and then choose the computer name. We will leave it like this. Then you can put in a username of your choice and after that put in a password. Then you can choose any of these two options here and click on Continue. Now this would install Ubuntu on your system. Those who want to test a distribution before installing it on a computer and replacing the existing operating system would be surprised to know that you can easily run it from the USB stick or a CD in the trial mode. As you can see here, we have a Try Ubuntu option available. If we go with it, Ubuntu would start in the trial mode and you can easily check out the interface. This way you can learn whether you like the distribution or not and can either install or move on to another one. You can even install Linux side by side with Windows or any other OS, which is called dual booting. Let us quickly summarize what we learned today. An operating system based on the Linux kernel is called a distribution or distro. There are hundreds of distributions available, some of which are designed to accomplish a sole purpose like running servers, act as network switches, etc. Naming the best Linux distribution is difficult as they are made for different needs. Linux can be installed in your system via the below mentioned methods. The first one is the USB stick, the second one is the live CD, and the third one is virtual installation. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on the big switch to Linux. Now that you have installed Linux, it is time to make the big switch from your Windows or the Mac operating system. Mac OS uses a Unix core. Your switch from Mac OS to Linux will be relatively smooth. It's the Windows users who will need some adjusting. In this tutorial, we will introduce the Linux operating system and compare it with Windows. Starting with File System, in Microsoft Windows, files are stored in folders under different data drives like C, D, E. But in Linux, files are ordered in a tree structure starting with the root directory. This root directory can be considered as the start of the file system and it further branches out various other subdirectories. The root is denoted with the /. A general tree file system on your Linux system may look like this. Moving on to the types of files, in Linux and Unix, everything is a file. Directories are files are files, and the devices like printer, mouse, keyboard, etc. are all files. The first type of files are general files, also called ordinary files. They can contain image, video, program, or simply text. They can be in ASCII or a binary format. These are the most commonly used files by Linux users. Next are the directory files. These files are a warehouse for other file types. You can have a directory file within a directory. You can take them as folders found in Windows operating system. Here, the difference between Linux and Windows becomes significant. In Windows, system and program files are usually saved in the drive C. But in Linux, you would find the system and program files in different directories under the file system. Same is the case with CD-ROM. While we see it as a drive in Windows, it is a directory named as CD-ROM in Linux. Removable media files are also shown as a drive in Windows, whereas in Linux they are a directory. Common programs in Windows are stored in the program files. In Linux, you would find them under the bin directory. The last type is the device files. In Microsoft Windows, devices like printers, CD-ROM and hard drives are represented as drive letters like D, E, G, H. In Linux, they are represented as files. For example, if the first SATA drive had 3 primary partitions, they would be named as the file systems that you can see on the screen. It is important to note here that all the device files reside in the dev directory. All of these file types, including the devices, have permissions which allow a user to read, edit or execute them. This is a powerful Linux or Unix feature. Access restrictions can be applied for different kinds of users by changing permissions. Let us discuss user accounts in Linux. The first type is the regular user. A regular user account is created for you when you install Ubuntu on your system. All your files and folders are stored in Home Guru 99, which is your home directory. As a regular user, you do not have access to directories of other users. Other than regular user, another user account called root is created at the time of installation. The root account can access restricted files, install software and has administrative privileges. It is also called the super user. Whenever you want to perform any administrative task on Linux, you need to log in as a root user. The third type is the service user. Linux is widely used as a server operating system. Services such as Apache, Squid have their own individual service accounts. Having services accounts increases security of your computer. It is important to note here that you will not see service accounts in Ubuntu desktop version, but only in the Ubuntu server edition. Regular accounts are also called standard accounts in Ubuntu desktop. Let us move on to file name convention. In Windows, you cannot have 2 files with the same name in the same folder. If the second file with the same name is created, you would get an error. While in Linux, you can have 2 files with the same name in the same directory, provided they use different cases. For every user in Linux, a directory is created under the home directory. Now consider a regular user, Guru 99. He can store his personal files and directories in the directory home, Guru 99, but he cannot save files outside his user directory and does not have access to directories of other users as well. The concept is similar to the users folder found in Windows. For every user in Linux, a directory is created as home, the username. When you boot the Linux operating system, your user directory, home Guru 99, is the default working directory. Hence, the directory home Guru 99 is also called the home directory, which is a misnomer. The working directory can be changed using some commands which we will learn later. Let's summarize. Unix or Linux uses a hierarchical file system. There are no drives in Linux, unlike Windows. Peripherals like hard drives, CD-ROM, printers are also considered files in Unix or Linux. There are 3 types of user accounts, the first one being regular, second one root, and the third one is the service account. Root user is the super user and has all the administrative privileges. Linux file naming convention is case sensitive. Thus, sample and sample are 2 different files in Linux or Unix operating system. For every user, home username directory is created, which is called his home directory. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope to see you in the next ones. Welcome to the video tutorial on Terminal versus File Manager. Have you ever wondered what is the most frequent task that you perform on your computer? Is it playing games, listening to music, or browsing the internet? This may be surprising to some, but the most frequent task performed by an average user on a computer is browsing, creating, moving, and deleting files. So what are the ways to manage files efficiently? There are two main ways. The first one is the CLI or command line interface like the terminal in Ubuntu. The second one is the graphical user interface or GUI, which is like the file manager on any operating system. Most of the beginners as well as the experienced users prefer to use the GUI, but CLI has its own advantages, which we will discuss in this tutorial. So why learn the command line interface? First, the command line interface is highly flexible and offers options which are not available in the GUI mode. Second, some configurations in GUI are up to 4 screens deep, while in the CLI it's just a single command. For example, creating a new account can take 4 different steps through the graphical user interface, whereas the same can be done with a single terminal command. Third, if you are thinking of moving hundreds of files, it can take hours using the GUI mode, whereas using regular expressions on CLI you can do the same within seconds. Fourth, CUI loads fast and does not consume RAM compared to GUI, so it does not affect system performance at all. This is important in crunch situations when a server is down. But GUI has its importance too, and is especially useful while viewing performance graphs, editing images and videos, creating sketches, and trying out other graphic-intensive tasks. The look, feel, and operation of GUI-based file manager is similar across major operating systems like Windows, Mac operating system, and Linux. It's the command line interface which people find challenging to use, and it will be the focus of our tutorials. So starting with how to launch the command line interface on the Ubuntu operating system, you can try the same with the following 2 methods. First, click on dash and type terminal. Then you would be able to see a thumbnail which says terminal. Go ahead and click on it. This way the terminal window would pop open. Or you can simply press the Ctrl, Alt and T key combination to launch the same window. Once you have launched the CLI, you would find some information already populated on the screen. Let us learn what it is about. The first part of this line is the name of the user, which can be Bob, Tom, Ubuntu, Home, or Guru99. The second part is the computer name or the host name. The host name helps identify a computer over the network. In a server environment, hostname becomes important. The colon is a simple separator. The teal sign shows that the user is working in the home directory. If you change the directory, this sign will vanish. Later, we will learn how to move between different directories, and you would see that the sign would not display. The dollar sign suggests that you are working as a regular user in Linux. While working as a root or the master user, the hash sign is displayed. Now, in order to work on your files, you need to know which directory you are in on the terminal. This brings us to what is a present working directory. The directory that you are currently browsing is called the present working directory. You log on to the home directory by default when you boot your computer. Otherwise, you can use the pwd command for knowing which directory you are working on. Let's try the same on terminal. Here, by using the pwd command, we got to know that we are in the home Guru99 directory, which also happens to be the home directory for this computer. pwd stands for print working directory. Moving on to changing directories, you can do so by using a CD. Well, it is not the actual CD, but the command. Let us look at how it works. Here, by using the CD command, we would move from the home directory to the tmp directory. Then again, using the same command, we would move on to the bin directory. Trying the same, we would then move back to the tmp directory. If you want to navigate to the home directory, then you need to type cd or cd space tilde. In case you want to move to the root directory, you would have to type cd space /. It should be noted here that the root of file system in Linux is denoted by a /, which is the same as c:// in Windows. The apparent difference is in Windows, where you use a /, while in Unix or Linux a / is used. Let us try the same on terminal. So by using the cd space tilde command, we would move to the home directory. Then if we want to move to the root directory, we would use cd space /. Do not forget the space between cd and / to avoid error. So how do we navigate through multiple directories? You can navigate through multiple directories at the same time by specifying its complete path. So if you want to move to the CPU directory under dev, you do not need to break this operation in two parts. Let us look at it on terminal. Here, by using a single command, we would move from the home directory to the CPU directory under dev. In case you want to move up one directory, you can easily do so by trying cd space ... By using the cd space ... command, we would move from the CPU directory to the dev directory. Then again, using the same command, we would move from dev directory to the root directory. It is important to understand what is path in computing and what are its types. Just like a path can make you reach your home, a path in computing is the address of a file or folder. So, the C, Documents and Settings, User, Downloads in Windows and Home, User, Downloads path in Linux would take you to the Downloads folder. There are two kinds of paths, absolute and relative. Let's start with the first one. Let's say you have to browse the images stored in the Pictures directory of the Home folder Guru99. The absolute file path of Pictures directory is then Home Guru99 Pictures. So to navigate to this directory, you would have to use the command cd home Guru99 Pictures. And this way you would reach the Pictures directory. This is called absolute path, as you are specifying the full path to reach the file or the directory. Relative path comes in handy when you have to browse another subdirectory within a given directory. It saves you from the effort to type complete paths all the time. Suppose you are already in your home directory and you want to navigate to the Pictures directory. For this, you do not need to type the absolute path with the command. As you are already in the Home Guru99 directory, you can simply type cd space the name of the directory and you would reach it. This way, you do not have to specify the complete path to reach a specific location within the same directory in the file system. So to summarize what we have learned today, to manage your files, you can use either the GUI or the CLI in Linux. You can launch the terminal from the dashboard or using the shortcut key Ctrl, Alt and T. The pwd commands gives the present working directory. You can use the cd command to change directories. Absolute path is complete address of a file or directory. Relative path is relative location of a file or directory with respect to the current directory. Relative path helps avoid typing complete paths all the time. Let us also refresh our memory on the CLI commands learned in this tutorial. Use cd space directory name command to navigate to a particular directory. Use cd or cd space tilde command to move to the home directory. Use cd space / command to navigate to the root directory. Use cd space .. command to move one level up in the directory structure. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on important Linux commands. In the last tutorial, we learned the importance of using the command line interface. Let us continue and learn the must-know Linux commands. To check a list of files on your Unix or Linux system, you can use the ls command. It shows the files or the directories in your current directory. Let us check this on terminal. By typing the ls command, we can see all the files and directory in the home directory. It is important to note here that the directories are denoted in blue color and the files are denoted in white. You will find similar color schemes in different distributions of Linux. The ls command shows files only in the current directory. Suppose you want to check the presence of an MP3 file in your music folder, which is under the subdirectory English and the subdirectory Hard Rock. In order to list this MP3 file, you can use the lsr command. It will show all the files and the folders, not only in the directories but also the subdirectories. Here we can see all the directories, the subdirectories and the files present in them. To get very detailed information related to the files and directories, you can type the ls space -al command. Once you type the command, you are presented with a lot of details on the screen. Let us learn what they are. The first column here shows file type and access permissions. The second column shows memory blocks occupied by the file or the directory. The third column here shows the owner or the creator of the file. The fourth column displays the user group of the owner. The fifth column shows the file size in bytes. The sixth column here shows the date and the time of the creation of the file or the directory. The seventh and the last column here shows the directory or the file name. Hidden items in Unix or Linux begin with the period symbol at the start of the file or directory. Any directory starting with the period will not be seen unless you request for it. To view hidden files, use the command ls space -a. On typing this command on terminal, we can see all the hidden files which start with the period symbol. When it comes to creating and viewing files, it's time to bring in the cat. The cat command. The cat command is used to display text files. It can also be used to copy, combine, and create new text files. Let us see how it works on terminal. To create a new file, you need to type the following command on terminal. File1 here being the file that we will create. Once you have entered the command, terminal would prompt you to add the content. Let us add the content for this file. Once you are done adding the content for the file, you need to press Ctrl+D on your keyboard to return to the command prompt. This is how we will create a new file using the cat command. To view the same file, you can type in cat space the file name. Let us create another file using the same method. Now we have two files here, file 1 and file 2. Let us try and combine them together. The syntax to combine two files is cat space file name 1 space file name 2, which would then be outputted to a new file. As soon as you insert this command and hit enter, the files are concatenated, but you do not see a result. This is because the bash shell or the terminal is silent type. It will never give you a confirmation message like OK or command has been invoked. It will only show a message when something goes wrong or when an error has occurred. In order to view the new combo file, new file, let us use the same cat command. Please note that only text files can be displayed and combined using the cat command. Moving on to deleting files, we will use the rm space file name command for deleting the files that we do not need. Let us look at it on terminal. Here we have a file with the name test which we would like to remove. The rm command removes files from the system without confirmation. To delete this file, you need to type in rm space test. This would delete the file, and the next time we list the files in the home directory, we would not see the test file. For moving files to a new location, you need to use mv space file name space new file location command. Suppose we want to move the test file to a new location, home guru99 files. For this, we need to execute this command. Running it will move the file. But why does it say permission denied? Well, the move command needs super user permission. Currently, we are executing the command as a standard user and we do not have the right permissions for the files directory. Hence, we get the above error. To overcome the error, use the command sudo. Sudo program allows regular users to run programs with the security privileges of super user or root. Sudo command will ask for password authentication. You do not need to know the root password for this, and you can enter your own password. After authentication, the system will invoke the requested command. Sudo maintains a log of each command run. System administrators can track back the person responsible for undesirable changes in the system. It should be noted here that by default, the password that you entered for sudo is retained for 15 minutes per terminal. This eliminates the need of entering the password time and again. For renaming files, use mv space file name space new file name. Let us rename the test file to a new one. For this, we need to type in mv space test space the new file name, which would be test1 in this case. Once done, we can list the files and we would see that the file name for test would be changed to test1. This was about making changes to files. Let us now learn a bit about manipulating directories. Starting with creating directories, this command will create a subdirectory in your present working directory, which is usually your home directory. Let's see how it works on terminal. By typing mkdir command with the directory name, we would be able to create a new directory. Here, we will create a new directory named songs. This is how we will create a new directory in the home directory. If you want to create a new directory in a different location other than the home directory, you need to use the following command. For example, typing the following command would create a new music directory under the TMP directory. As we can see here, we have a new music directory created under TMP. You can also create more than one directory at a time. Let us run this command on terminal and look at the results. For creating multiple directories, you need to type in the mkdir command followed by the new directories that you would like to create. Here we would create 3 new directories as following. Running the ls command would show that these 3 new directories have been created under the home directory. In order to remove a directory, use the command rmdir space directory name. Now we want to remove the direc directory using the rmdir command. For this, you need to type the following. But make sure that there is no file or subdirectory under the directory that you want to delete. Delete the files and the subdirectories first before deleting the parent directory. By running the list command, we would see that the direc directory has been deleted. For renaming directories, use the mv command which we covered earlier. Now, we would like to change the name of direct2 directory to a new one. For this, we need to run the mv command. This is how we would do it. On running the ls command, we would see that the direct2 directory has been renamed as direct4. Moving on to the man command, man stands for manual, which is a reference book of a Linux operating system. It is similar to help file found in popular software. To get help on any command that you do not understand, you can type man space command. The terminal would open the manual page for that command. For example, if we type man space ls command and hit enter, terminal would give us information on the list directory contents command. Next is the history command. History command shows all the commands that you have used in the past for the current terminal session. This can help you refer to the old commands you have entered and reuse them in your operations again. On terminal, this command would give us the following output. You can also press the up arrow key on your keyboard and go through the command that you have run before. This way you can run them again. Next is the clear command. This command clears all the clutter on the terminal and gives you a clean window to work on, just like when you launch the terminal. Let us check how this command works. Here we have a terminal window with a lot of commands and their output. Now if we would like to clean this all up, we can simply run the clear command and all of the commands and their output will be cleaned. Many a times you would have to type in long commands on the terminal. Well, it can be annoying at times, and if you want to avoid such a situation, then copy-pasting the commands can come to rescue. For copying the text from the source, you could use Ctrl+C, but for pasting it on the terminal, you need to use Ctrl+Shift+V key combination. You can also try Shift+Insert or select Edit Paste on the menu. Now let us quickly summarize all the commands learned today. The ls command lists all file and directories in the present working directory. The lsr command lists files in subdirectories as well. The lsa command lists hidden files. The lsla command lists files and directory with detailed information like permissions, size, owner, etc. The cat file name command creates a new file. The cat file name displays the file content. Using this command, you can join two files and store the output in a new file. MV file new file path would move a file to its new location. The next is the MV file name new file name command, which would rename the file to a new file name. Sudo is an important command, and it allows regular users to run programs with the security privileges of the superuser or root. The rm command deletes a file. The mkdir command followed by the directory name would create a new directory in the present working directory. Using the same command followed by the path and the directory name would create a new directory at the specified path. rmdir would remove a directory from the system. mv name new name would give a directory a new name. The man command gives us help information on a command. The next is history. This command gives a list of all the past commands typed in the current terminal session. The last one is the clear command, which clears the terminal. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on setting file permissions on Linux. Security is a big concern for Linux, which is a clone of Unix, the multi-user operating system. As Linux is used in mainframes and servers, it is vital to keep it safe from a malign user who can corrupt, change or remove crucial data. This is why, for effective security, Linux divides authorization into two levels: ownership and permission. The concept of permissions and ownership is crucial in Linux. Here we will discuss both of them. Let us start with ownership and Linux files. Every file and directory in your Unix or Linux system is assigned three types of owner. The first one among them is user. A user is the owner of the file. By default, the person who created a file becomes its owner. Hence, a user is also sometimes called an owner. The next one is a group. A user group can contain multiple users. All users belonging to a group will have the same access permissions to the file. So you can add many users to a group and assign group permission to a file so that only the group members can read or modify them. Third is other, who is any other user who has access to a file. This person has neither created the file nor does he belong to a user group which owns the file. Practically, it means everybody else. Hence, when you set the permission for others, it is also referred as set permissions for world. Now, the big question arises, how does Linux distinguishes between these three user types so that a user A cannot affect a file which contains some other user B's vital information or data? It is like you do not want your colleague who works on your Linux computer to view your personal images. This is where permissions set in and they define user behavior. Let us understand the permission system on Linux. Every file and directory in your Unix or Linux system has three permissions: read, write and execute, defined for all the three users that we discussed earlier. This permission gives you the authority to open and read a file. Read permission on a directory gives you the ability to list its content. The write permission gives you the authority to modify the contents of a file. The write permission on a directory gives you the authority to add, remove and rename files stored in the directory. In Windows, an executable program usually has an extension exe which you can easily run. In Unix or Linux, you cannot run a program unless the execute permission is set. For example, in the sample file here, the user does not have the permission to execute it. Hence, we would get an error message if we try to open it. Therefore, if the execute permission is not set, you will not be able to run the file. Let us learn more about Linux security by examples. Running the ls-l command on terminal gives us the following result. By picking the details for the first file, we get to know that the file types and access permissions are displayed by this weird looking code. Let us learn what it is about. Let's first learn about the characters. R stands for read permission, W is for write permission, X is execute permission, and the hyphen states no permission. Here, the first hyphen implies that we have selected a file. Else, if it were a directory, D would have been shown. The next part of the code is RW hyphen, and it tells us the permissions for the owner. This suggests that the owner can read the file, write or edit the file, but he cannot execute the file since the execute bit is set to hyphen, which is no permission. The next part is RW hyphen. It is for the user group, which is Guru99, and the group members can read the file and write or edit the file. By design, many Linux distributions like Fedora, CentOS, Ubuntu, etc. will add users to a group of the same group name as the user name. Thus, a user Tom is added to a group named Tom. The third part is for the world, which means any user. It says R hyphen hyphen. This means that the user can only read the file. Moving on, let's say you do not want your colleague to see your personal images. You can easily do so by changing file permissions. We can use the chmod command, which stands for change mode. Using the command, we can set permissions is that read, write and execute on a file or directory for the owner, group and the world. There are two ways to use the command. The first one is the absolute mode and the second one is the symbolic mode. Starting with the first one, in this mode, file permissions are not represented as characters but a 3-digit octal number. The table shows numbers for all the permission types. For example, the number 0 states no permission and the symbol for it is 3 hyphens successively. The number 1 would be for execute and the symbol for the same is hyphen hyphen X. Let us understand this by an example. Here we have a file with the name test. We will change the permissions for this file using the absolute mode of chmod command. Here we use the 764 absolute code and now the permissions for test file would change. Let's examine the changes to the permissions. 764 absolute code says the following: read, write and execute for the user or the owner, read and write for the user group, and read only for other users. So this is how we can change the permissions using the absolute mode of the chmod command. Moving on to the next way. In the absolute mode, you change permissions for all 3 owners, but under symbolic mode, you can modify permissions of a specific owner as well. It makes use of mathematical symbols to modify the file permissions. So the plus sign would mean adding a permission to a file or directory, minus would suggest removing the permission, and equal to will set the permission and override the permissions set earlier. The various owners are represented as U, G, O and A. Let us learn it with some examples. Again, we would use the same test file and change its permissions using the symbolic mode. By using O is equal to RWX, we have changed permissions for the other users. Let us check what the new permissions are. As we can see here, the other users have the read, write and execute permission for this test file. With G plus X, we have added execute permission to the group. Now if we will check the test file, it will show the read, write and execute permission for the group. By running u-r, we will remove the read permission for the user or the owner of the file. Let us see how it looks now. As we can see, the permissions for test file do not show any read permission for the owner. This is how we can use the two methods for chmod command and change permissions. For changing the ownership of a file or directory, you can use this command. In case you want to change the user as well as group for a file or directory, you need to use this command. Let us try them on terminal. Let us change the file ownership for the file commands. Right now it shows that the owner of the file is Guru99. By running the chown command with sudo, we would be able to change the owner of this file to root. As you can see, the new owner for the file commands is root. Now let us try changing the user group and group ownership of the same file. Right now, the owner of the file is root and the user group of the file is also root. We would change it to Guru99. For this, we would need to run the command sudo chown, the owner name, then the group name, and then the name of the file. Let us see the changes in the user and group ownership. As you can see here, the commands file is now owned by Guru99 and it also belongs to the same user group. In case you want to change only the group owner of a file, you would need to run the following command. Here we would again change the group owner of the file commands to root. The chgrp command stands for change group. Now let us go through some important tips on user groups. The file etc group contains all the groups defined in the system. In order to reach this file, you need to go to the file system, click on etc directory and then search for the group file. Upon opening this file, you would be able to see all the groups present on your Linux system. You can use the command groups to find all the groups you are a member of. So it shows here that the Guru99 user is a member of the following groups. You can use the command new grp to work as a member of a new group other than your default group. Let's see how it works. Let us now change the user group for the user Guru99 to CD-ROM. Let's create a new file as test. Upon checking the detailed information for this file, we will find that the user group for the test file is CD-ROM instead of the default Guru99. The next step says that you cannot have two groups owning the same file. The one group can be a subgroup of another which can own a file. Let's now quickly summarize what we have learned. Linux, being a multi-user system, uses permissions and ownerships for security. There are three user types on a Linux system: user, group and other. Linux divides the file permissions into read, write and execute, denoted by R, W and X. The permissions on a file can be changed by chmod command, which can be further divided into absolute and symbolic mode. The chown command can change the ownership of a file or a directory. Use the following commands for changing the user or the user and the user group at the same time. The chgrp command can change the group ownership. The command is chgrp group and the file name. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on print, email and install software on Linux. As we already know now that commands play a vital role in performing different processes on Linux easily. Let us learn some more of them for performing day-to-day tasks. For printing in Linux, you need to use the PERL command. This command helps in formatting the file for printing on the terminal. What more, your original file does not get affected at all by the formatting that you do. There are many options available with this command which help in making desired format changes on the file. For example, using the option -x will divide the data into X columns. If you want to assign a header value to the text file, you can use the -h space the header name option with the PERL command. Let us learn some of them by examples. Tools is a file we would like to print, but we want to divide its content in 3 columns. For this, we will use the command PERL space -3 space the file name. 3 being the number of columns that we would divide the data of this file into. Upon entering the command, we would see the file contents have been divided into 3 columns. If you want to assign a header to the file print, you can do so with the help of this command. Home tools would be the title or the header of the file tools. On running the command, we would see that the file tools has a header now. For denoting all lines with numbers, you can try this command. This command denotes all the lines in the file with numbers. Once you're done with the formatting and it is time for you to get a hard copy of the file, you need to use the following command. It can be LP file name or LPR file name. In case you want to print multiple copies of the same file, you can use the number modifier n, and the commands would change to LP space -n, the number of copies, then the file name, or the other one displayed on the screen. If you have multiple printers installed on your system, then you can specify them using these commands. The first one says LP space -d, the name of the printer, and then the name of the file that you would like to print. In Windows, the installation of a program is done by running the setup.exe file. The installation file contains the program as well as various dependent components required to run the program correctly. In Linux or Unix, installation files are distributed as packages, but the package contains only the program itself. Any dependent components will have to be installed separately, which are usually available as packages themselves. You can use the apt commands to install or remove a package. You need to run this command with sudo. Let us use it to install VLC Media Player on the system. On running this command, sudo would ask us for the password. Upon entering the password, the system would start installing the VLC Media Player. The easy and popular way to install programs on Ubuntu is by using the Software Center. Most of the software packages are available on it, and it is far more secure than the files downloaded from the internet. So if you want to install the VLC Media Player, you can either click on this thumbnail or you can search for it on the search bar. Clicking on it will give you the option Install. This way you can install the software easily. Moving on to sending emails, you will need to install the package mailx for it on terminal. This can be done by using the sudo apt-get install command. Terminal will prompt if you want to continue or not. Press Y to that. Once you hit the enter key, the postfix configuration screen would open and it will ask you to select the mail server configuration type. Choose the one that you want and hit OK. This will install the mailx package on your Linux system. Once done, you can then use the following syntax for sending an email. Going by the syntax that we saw on the slide, we would have to type in mailx followed by the email address that we want to send the email to. Once you hit the enter key, the prompt would ask you to enter the subject. To enter the body of the message, you would have to hit the enter key again, and then you can type in the message that you want to convey. Once you reach the end of the message, press Ctrl D and your email would be sent. Let us quickly recap what we have learned in this tutorial. Using the PERL command, you can format and print a file directly from the terminal. The formatting you do on the files does not affect the file contents. In Unix and Linux, software is installed in form of packages. A package contains the program itself. Any dependent component needs to be downloaded separately. You can also send emails from the terminal using the mailx command. Let us go through the commands as well. prx divides the file into x columns. prh command assigns a header to the file. prn is used to denote the file with line numbers. lpnc file name and lprc file name print C copies of a file. lpd printer name and lpp printer name followed by the file name help in specifying the name of a printer. apt-get is a command used to install and update packages. mailx followed by the address followed by the body is the command to send email. Thanks for watching this tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on redirection in Linux. Most of the commands we have learned so far take an input and give an output. The standard input device is the keyboard and the standard output device is the screen. Linux is a very flexible operating system and you can change the standard input and output devices. Let us learn how this redirection works. Starting with output redirection, the more than symbol is used for output or stdout redirection. Let us try this on terminal. Using the lsal command, we can see the detailed information of the files and directories in our home directory. Now we can redirect the output of the command lsal to a new file listings instead of the screen. This is how we would do it. On viewing the contents of the file listings, we would see that the output of the command lsal has been stored in this file. This is how we can redirect the output of a command. It is important to note here that you should use the right file name while redirection. If there is an existing file with the same name, it will be overwritten. So if we redirect this statement to the same file listings, we would find that the contents of this file have been overwritten. So if you do not want a file to be overwritten but want to add more content to an existing file, you should use the more than operator. This is how we would try it. Now, if we run the cat command for the same file, we would see that it has not been overwritten. Instead, the new content has been added to it. Moving on to input redirection, the less than symbol is used for input or stdin redirection. An example of this is the mail program in Linux, which can help you send emails from the terminal. You can type the contents of the email using the standard device keyboard. But if you want to attach a file to email, you can use the input redirection operator. Let us move on to some advanced redirection techniques which make use of file descriptors. But before this, we must know that in Linux or Unix, everything is a file, be it a regular file, directories, or even devices. All of them are files. Moving on to descriptors, every file has an associated number called file descriptor or FD. Your screen also has a file descriptor. When a program is executed, the output is sent to file descriptor of the screen and you see program output on your monitor. So whenever you execute a program or a command at the terminal, three files are always open. They are the standard input, the standard output, and the standard error. By default, error stream is displayed on the screen, and error redirection is routing the errors to a file other than the screen. These files are always present whenever a program is run. As explained before, a file descriptor is associated with each of these files. So why error redirection? Error redirection is one of the very popular features of Unix or Linux. Frequent Unix users will reckon that many commands give you massive amounts of errors. For instance, while searching for files, one typically gets permission denied errors. These errors usually do not help the person searching for a particular file. While executing shell scripts, you often do not want error messages cluttering up the normal program output. The solution is to redirect the error messages to a file. Let's learn error redirection with some examples. The first one is for redirecting an error log to a file. Here we are executing a program called telnet, and running it gives us the following error. The file descriptor for the standard error is 2. So by using 2 with the more than sign, we redirect the error output to a file named error file. Thus, the program output is not cluttered with errors, and if we want to see the error file, we can do it this way. Let us go through another example which uses the find statement. Using the find statement, we are searching the current directory for a file with name starting with my. On running the command, it finds a file with the name mytexts, but it also shows an error for the directory files which cannot be accessed. Now using the output redirection, we will now redirect the error message to a file named error log. Now we can see the error in the file contents. Let's see a more complex example. Server administrators frequently list directories and store both error and the standard output into a file which can be processed later. They use this command. Here, the more than ampersand writes the output from one file to the input of another file. Error output is then redirected to standard output, which in turn is redirected to the file dir list. Hence both the output is written to file dir list. Let us try it on terminal. Let us first list the contents of the directories documents and ABC. The command says that the directory ABC was not found, and it lists the contents of the documents directory. Now we add the output redirection to a file named dir list, but we would see that the error still shows. To correct this, we now redirect the error output to standard output by using 2 more than sign, ampersand, and 1. Hence, both standard and error output are written to the file dir list. This is how we can use output redirection. Let us now go through the key points of this tutorial. Each file in Linux has a corresponding file descriptor associated with it. The keyboard is the standard input device, while your screen is the standard output device. The more than is the output redirection operator. More than appends output to an existing file. Less than is the input redirection operator. More than ampersand redirects output of one file to another. You can redirect error using its corresponding file descriptor too. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on Linux pipes, grep and sort command. If you are new to Linux, you might wonder what role do pipes play in running the operating system. Well, they are not the real pipes that you have in mind. The symbol pipe denotes a pipe in Linux. If you want to use 2 or more commands at the same time and run them consecutively, you can use pipes. Pipes enable Unix or Linux users to create powerful commands which can perform complex tasks in a jiffy. Let us understand this with an example. When you use the cat command to view a file like the file fruits here, which has a lot of pages, the prompt quickly jumps to the last page of the file and you do not see the content in the middle. To avoid this, you can pipe the output of the cat command to less, which will show you only one scroll length of content at a time. This way, you can scroll the file content using the arrow keys. And once you reach the end of the file, press Q to exit. Instead of less, you can also use the PG and more commands. And you can view the file in digestible bits and scroll down by simply hitting the Enter key. Once you reach the end of the file, you can again hit the Enter key and you would see the command prompt. This was about reading the file. So what if you have to search a file for text or a piece of information? For this, we need to use the grep command. Using this command, you can scan a document, and with this, you can also customize the search results the way you want. The syntax for this command is grep space the search string. Let us see it in action. These are the contents of the file fruits. Now we will use the grep command to look for avocado. The syntax for this would be cat space the file name space the pipe, then the grep command followed by the string that we want to search, which would be avocado in this case. Hitting enter would search the file fruits for the string avocado. Let us also use the same command to search for melon. This is how the command would search for the desired string in a file. You can use the following options with the grep command. So if you want to display the lines that do not match the searched string, you can use the option -v with the grep command. Let us try some of them on terminal. Here we will try the option I with the grep command. The I option filters the string, which is A, from all the lines in the file. This is why we would get this result. The sort command comes in handy when you are trying to list the contents of a file alphabetically. The syntax for this command is sort space file name. Let us say we want to sort the content of the same file fruits alphabetically. Right now we see that the name of fruits are all jumbled up. Using the sort command, we will easily be able to do it in a jiffy. You can use the following extensions for the sort command and get different results. So if you want to reverse the sorting of the contents of a file, you can use the option -r. Let us try it and see how it works out. Using reverse sorting, we have changed the alphabetical order of the contents of the fruit file. Let us now understand what our filter is. Filter is the output from the first command, which becomes the input for the second one. When you pipe 2 commands, the filtered output of the first command is given to the next one. Let us understand this with the help of an example. We will again use the same file for this example. Now we want to highlight only the lines that do not contain the character A in lowercase. We will do it this way. This is how we can filter the output of the first command and use it as the input for the second one. Now what if we want this result in the reverse order? We will need to run this command for the same. Here, the cat command would display the contents of the file fruits. The result would be outputted to the grep command, which will not search for strings which contain the character A. The output of this command would be then worked on by the sort command to display the result in the reverse order. This is how we can use filters. Let us summarize what we have learned today. Pipes help combine two or more commands. A filter in a pipe is an output of one command which serves as the input to the next. The grep command can be used to find strings and values in a text document. Sort command sorts out the content of a file alphabetically. Less PG and more commands are used for dividing a long file into readable bits. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on regular expressions in Linux. So what are regular expressions? Well, they are special characters, no, not these, yes, which help search data and match complex patterns. Regular expressions are shortened as regexp or regex. Some of the commonly used commands with regular expressions are tr, sed, vi, and grep. These are some of the basic regex. Let us learn their practical use. Let's consider this sample file. Now we will use the grep command to look for lines containing the letter A. Let's use a regular expression now. Using the caret symbol, we will search for the content that starts with the character A. The caret matches the start of a string. This is why only lines that start with the character A are filtered. Lines which do not contain the character A at the start are ignored. Let us look into another example. Here we will look for the character T in the same file sample. Now let us select only those lines which end with the character T. For this we will need to use this regular expression which matches the end of the string. This is how we can use regular expressions. Moving on to the interval regular expressions, they tell us about the number of occurrences of a character in a string. They are. So if we use the first expression, it will match the preceding character appearing n times exactly. Let us try it on terminal. Let us filter out all the lines that contain the character P. Now if we want to check the character P appearing exactly 2 times in a string one after the other, for this the syntax would be, which will give us this result. It should be noted here that you need to add "E" with these regular expressions. The next is the extended regular expressions. These contain combinations of more than one expressions. Some of them are. So if we use the backward slash with the plus sign, it will match one or more occurrence of the previous character. Let us learn their practical use. Here we have searched for the character T. Suppose we want to filter out lines where character A precedes character T, we would have to use the command like this. Running this command would give us this result. This is how we can use the extended regular expressions. The syntax for brace expansion is either a sequence or a comma-separated list of items inside curly braces. The starting and end of items in a sequence are separated by 2 periods. Let us go through some of the examples. Here we would use the echo command to create strings using the brace expansion. Another example of the same would be, this would create a string from A till Z. One more example would be this. An advanced example of the brace expansion is this. This is how we can create strings using the brace expansion. To recap what we have learned, regular expressions are a set of characters used to check patterns in strings. They are also called regexp and regex. It is important to learn regular expressions for writing scripts. Some basic regular expressions are: the period symbol replaces any character. The caret matches the start of a string. The dollar sign matches the end of a string. Some extended regular expressions are: here, the backslash used with the plus sign matches one or more occurrence of the previous character. The backslash used with a question mark matches 0 or 1 occurrence of the previous character. Some interval regular expressions are: here, the n in the curly braces matches the preceding character appearing n times exactly. In the second expression, the n and m under curly braces match preceding character appearing n times but not more than m. And the last regular expression displayed here matches the preceding character only when it appears n times or more. The brace expansion is used to generate strings. It helps in creating multiple strings out of one. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope to see you in the next one. Welcome to the video tutorial on environment variables. So what is a computing environment? It is the platform constituting an operating system with a processor where a user can run programs. This brings us to what is a variable. In computer science, a variable is a location for storing a value which can be a file name, text, number, or any other data. It is usually referred to with its symbolic name which is given to it while creation. The value thus stored can be displayed, deleted, edited, and resaved. Variables play an important role in computer programming because they enable programmers to write flexible programs. As they are related to the operating systems that we work on, it is important to know some of them and how we can influence them. So what are environment variables? Well, they are the dynamic values which affect the processes or programs on a computer. They exist in every operating system and their types may vary. They can be created, edited, saved, and deleted. They also give information about the system behavior, and they change the way software or programs behave. For example, the lang environment variable stores the value of the language that the user understands. This value is read by an application such that a Chinese user is shown a Mandarin interface while an American user is shown an English interface. These are some of the common environment variables. We'll go through them once we know how to access variables. In order to determine the value of a variable, you need to use this command. It is echo space the dollar sign then the variable name. Now we'll use some common environment variables, starting with echo path variable. This variable contains a colon-separated list of directories in which your system looks for executable files. When you enter a command on terminal, the shell looks for the command in different directories mentioned in the path variable. If the command is found, it executes. Otherwise, it returns with an error, command not found. Variables are case sensitive. Make sure that you type the variable name in the right letter case, otherwise you may not get the desired results. So if we type in the path variable this way, we will not receive a result. Moving on to another environment variable, the user environment variable gives us the name of the user. Trying out the home environment variable would give us the default path to the user's home directory. The env command displays all the environment variables. You can create your own user-defined variable with syntax variable name is equal to the variable value. Again, bear in mind that variables are case sensitive and usually they are created in the upper case. So let us make a new variable with this value. Now for checking the value of the newly created variable, you would have to type in this command. Make sure you do not leave space between the variable name and the equal to sign, otherwise you will get an error. And do not miss out on the dollar sign when you are checking the value of a variable. If you press the enter key without the dollar sign, the echo command would take the variable name as a string instead of a variable. Moving on to deleting variables, the following syntax can be used to remove a variable from the system. It says unset space the variable name. Let us try it on terminal. So now if we want to remove the new variable and its value that we created earlier, we would have to type in this on the terminal. Now if we run the echo command followed by the new variable, we would not get a result. The unset command removes the value of a variable permanently. Let us do a quick recap. Environment variables govern behavior of programs in your operating system. Let us also go through the commands that we have learned. The echo variable command is used to display value of a variable. The env command displays all environment variables. The variable name is equal to variable value command creates a new variable. Unset followed by the variable name removes a variable from the system. Export variable is equal to value is used to set value of an environment variable. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope to see you in the next one. Welcome to the video tutorial on communication in Linux. While working on a Linux operating system, you may need to communicate with other devices. For this, you can use some basic utilities which will help you communicate with networks, other Linux systems, and remote users. So let us learn them one by one. Starting with ping, this utility is commonly used to check whether your connection to the server is healthy or not. This command is also used in analyzing network and host connections, tracking network performance and managing it, testing hardware and software issues. The ping command is ping space IP address or the host name. Let us try some of its examples on terminal. On running ping space the IP address, the system sends 64 bytes of data to the IP address. If even one of the data packets does not return or is lost, it would suggest an error in the connection. You can press the Ctrl+C key combination to exit from the ping loop. Similarly, we can use ping space the host name. We will try www.google.com here and check the connection to the server. This is how you can use the ping command. Moving on to FTP, it stands for File Transfer Protocol, and it is the most preferred protocol for data transfer amongst computers. You can use FTP for logging in and establishing a connection with a remote host, uploading and downloading files, navigating through directories, and browsing contents of the directories. The syntax to establish an FTP connection with the remote host is FTP space IP address or the host name. Let us check this on terminal. When you have entered the command, it will ask you for authentication via username and password. So let us go ahead and enter the username and then the password. Once connection is established and you are logged in, you may use these commands to perform different actions. So let us run some of these commands on terminal. So if you want to display the files in the current directory of the remote computer, you need to type in the dir command. If you get an error while running commands, then you can turn on the passive mode. This mode ignores firewalls and data port errors. So let us go ahead and run the dir command again. With the help of the put command, we will upload a file with the name local file. Press enter and the file would be uploaded on the remote computer. Now if you want to check the presence of this file, you can again run the dir command and you will be able to see the local file on the remote computer. Now let us go ahead and download a file from the remote computer. Here we have a file which we would like to download. The command to download a file from the remote computer is get space the file name, which is remote file in our case. So let us go ahead and run this command. FTP says that the file was successfully transferred. The quit command would log us out from FTP. This is how you can use FTP for data transfer amongst computers. The next utility is Telnet. It helps connect to a remote Linux computer, run programs remotely and conduct administration. This utility is similar to the remote desktop feature found in Windows machine. The syntax for this utility is telnet space IP address or host name. For demonstration purpose, here we have connected to our own computer or the local host using telnet. Once you have put in your username and password and you are authenticated, you can execute commands just like you have been doing so far using the terminal. The only difference is, if you are connected to a remote host, the commands will be executed on the remote machine and not your local computer. Telnet has become obsolete over the years as more secure protocols to connect to remote computers have come up. This is why we move on to the next utility, which is SSH. It stands for Secure Shell and is used to securely connect to a remote computer. Compared to Telnet, SSH is secure, wherein client-server connection is authenticated using a digital certificate and passwords are encrypted. Hence, it is widely used by system administrators to control remote Linux servers. The syntax to log into SSH is SSH space username at IP address or the host name. Let us try it on terminal. So let us log into SSH using the command SSH space username at IP address or host name. Once you enter the login command, the terminal would ask you for the password. Upon entering the password, SSH would be logged in. Now you can go ahead and run commands on it like the way you do on terminal. The difference is that the command would be executed on the remote computer. So let us try one more command, dir. This would list all the directory contents in the home directory. So let us find out what is the present working directory. So right now we are working on home Guru 99. Similarly, on typing in exit, you would be logged out of SSH. Let us go through the key points of this tutorial. Communication between Linux or Unix and other different computers, networks and remote users is possible. The ping command checks whether the connection with the hostname or the IP address is working or not. Run ping IP address or hostname on the terminal. FTP is preferred protocol for sending and receiving large files. You can establish an FTP connection with the remote host and then use commands for uploading, downloading files, checking file and browsing them. Telnet utility helps you to connect to a remote Linux computer and work on it. SSH is a replacement for Telnet and it is used by system administrators to control remote Linux servers. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I would see you in the next one. Welcome to the video tutorial on managing processes in Linux. So what is a process? An instance of a program is called a process. In simple terms, any command that you give to your Linux machine starts a new process. For example, when you launch Office to write an article, it creates this process. And it's possible to have multiple processes, aka instances for the same program. There are two types of processes. The first one are the foreground processes. They run on the screen and need input from the user. An example of them are the Office programs. The second one are the background processes. They run in the background and usually do not need user input. An example of them is the antivirus that you use. You can start a foreground process either from the dashboard or you can run it from the terminal. So if you want to run the Banshee media player, you can go to dash, type in Banshee, and you can run the media player this way. Otherwise, you can go to terminal and type in Banshee and execute the command. When using the terminal, you will have to wait until the foreground process runs. If you start a foreground process or a program from the terminal, then you cannot work on the terminal till the program is up and running. To avoid such a situation, you can run the program and send it to the background so that the terminal remains available to you. Let's learn how to do this. For running a process on the background, you need to start the program by typing in the command name. Once you execute the program, you need to press in Ctrl+Z, then type BG to send process to the background. So if we try the same on terminal, we need to put in the command name for the process or the program, and when it starts running, we need to press in Ctrl+Z, which will stop the process. Then we need to type in bg to send the process to the background. This way you can send the process to the background and keep the terminal free. You can use the command fg to continue a program which is stopped and bring it to the foreground. The simple syntax for this utility is fg space the job name. An example for this is, we will launch the Banshee media player, stop the process, and then we will type in fg to continue the process on the foreground. Let's look at some other important commands to manage processes. Starting with top, this utility tells the user about all the running processes on the Linux machine. The syntax for this utility is top. So when we run this utility on the terminal, you would find a lot of fields with different abbreviations, which we'll learn now one by one. So starting with the PID, it is the process ID of each task. You can see here that it differs for each task or process. The user is the username of the task owner, so it can vary from root to as many user accounts that you have on your Linux system. The PR is the priority. It can be 20, which would be highest, or -20, which would be lowest. NI is a nice value of a task. The VIRT that you read on the screen is the virtual memory used. It shows memory in kilobytes. The RES is the physical memory used, and it also shows in kilobytes. SHR is the shared memory used, and it also shows in kilobytes. The S is the status. There are 5 types of the same. The first one is D, which says uninterruptible sleep. R is running. S is sleeping. T is traced or stopped, and the last one, Z, is for zombie. The CPU percentage that you see is the percentage of CPU time. The percentage of memory is the physical memory used. Time plus tells us about the total CPU time, and the command is the command name. We will discuss some of these fields in this tutorial. The next one is the PS utility. This utility stands for process status. It is similar to the task manager that pops up in a Windows machine when we use Ctrl plus Alt plus Delete. This command is similar to the top command, but the information displayed is different. You can use these syntaxes with the PS command. Let us try them. So to check all the processes running under a user, you need to use this command. It will give us all the information on processes and programs running under Guru 99. You can also check the process status of a single process by using the syntax ps space PID. But first, we need to find the PID of a process, which we can do by typing in PID of space the process name. Here we will type in Banshee and check its PID. So it says 2783. So let's go ahead and check the process status of this single process. This is how you can get information on the status of a single process. This command terminates running processes on a Linux system. The syntax for the kill command is kill space PID. In order to use this utility, again you need to know the PID of a process that you want to kill. Let us try it with an example. Let's say we have the Mozilla Firefox program running on our system, and we want to kill it using the terminal. For this, you need to find out the PID of the program Firefox. So now we know the PID of the program Firefox, let's go ahead and kill it. If the terminal does not return with an error, it implies that the program was terminated successfully. Linux can run a lot of processes at a time, which can slow down the speed of some high priority processes and result in poor performance. To avoid this, you can tell your machine to prioritize processes as per your requirements. This priority is called niceness in Linux, and it has a value between -20 to 19. The lower the niceness index, the higher would be the priority given to that task. The default value of all the processes is 0. To start a process with a niceness value other than the default value, you need to use the following syntax. It says nice space -n, then the nice value, then the process name. If there is some process already running on the system, then you can re-nice its value using this syntax. Let us understand this by an example. So let us launch the Banshee media player with a nice value other than the default value, which is 0. So here we have chosen 19 as a nice value for this program. Now let us run it. Now after cleaning the terminal with the clear command, we will now run the top utility and check the niceness value of the program Banshee. So here we have the Banshee media player and its niceness value shows 19. Now for re-nicing the value of an already running process, we need to know its PID. And as it shows here, the PID for the Banshee media player is 3844. So let us go ahead and re-nice its value from 19 to -20. For this, we need to type in sudo re-nice, then the new nice value, which would be 20 here, then -p, then the PID, which was 3844. Once we execute this command, sudo would ask for the password. Upon entering the password, terminal would tell us that the nice value of the process ID 3844 has been changed from 19 to -20. This is how you can prioritize the processes running on your Linux system and make it more efficient. Moving on to df utility, it reports the free disk space on all the file system. The syntax is df. Upon running this utility, we will see all the file systems on our computer with the used and the available disk space. If you want the above information in a readable format, then you can use the df utility with this option. Now you can see the total size, the used and the available disk space on your computer. This command shows the free and the used memory on the Linux system. You can use the arguments free space -m to display output in megabytes, or you can go with free space -g to display the output in gigabytes. Let's try them. So if we type in free space -m, we will see that the total memory on this system is 1002 megabytes, and out of it 860 megabytes have been used. This is how you can check the free and the used RAM on your Linux system. Let us summarize quickly. Any running program or a command given to a Linux system is called a process. A process could run in foreground or background. The priority index of a process is called nice in Linux. Its default value is 0 and it can vary between 20 to -19. The lower the niceness index, the higher would be the priority given to that task. Let us go through the utilities as well. The bg command sends a process to the background. The fg command runs a stopped process in foreground. Use top to get details on all active processes. ps gives the status of processes running for a user. ps space PID would give the status of a particular process. PID of space process name gives the process ID of a process or program. Kill space PID terminates a process or a program. Nice starts a program with a given priority. Re-nice changes the priority of an already running process. df would give you the free hard disk space information on your system. And free tells the free RAM details on your system. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope to see you in the next one. Welcome to the video tutorial on VI Editor. There are many ways to edit files on a Linux operating system. You can either use the GUI or work on the terminal. For those who like to go with the terminal, the VI Editor is the most popular and classic text editor in the Linux family. Some reasons which make it a widely used editor are: first, it is available in almost all the Linux distributions. It works the same across different platforms and distributions. It is user-friendly, hence millions of Linux users love it and use it for their editing needs. Nowadays, there are advanced versions of the VI editor available, and the most popular one among them is Vim, which is VI improved. Some of the other ones are Elvis, NVI, Nano, and Vial. It is wise to learn VI because it is feature-rich and it offers endless possibilities to edit a file. In order to work on VI editor, you need to understand its operation modes. They can be divided into two main parts, and the first part is the command mode. The VI editor opens in this mode and it only understands commands. In this mode, you can move the cursor and cut, copy, paste the text. This mode also saves the changes you have made to the file. Commands are case sensitive, so make sure you use the right letter case. The second part is the insert mode. This mode is for inserting text in the file. You can switch to the insert mode from the command mode by pressing I on the keyboard. Once you are in the insert mode, any key would be taken as an input for the file on which you are currently working. To return to the command mode and save the changes you have made, you need to press the escape key. So moving on to starting the VI editor, you need to open the terminal and type VI space a new file name or VI space an existing file name. You can create a new file or edit an existing one. This is how we will create a new file in VI editor, and it would open in the command mode. On the launch screen, we see a lot of tilde signs on the left. They denote unused lines. With this, the file name that you have created shows at the bottom. Now in order to add content to this file, you need to press the I key on the keyboard, and only then you would be able to type in something. Now let's learn some of the VI editing commands. It should be noted here that you need to be in the command mode to execute these commands. Also, VI editor is case sensitive, so make sure you type the commands in the right letter case. So let us go ahead and try some of the VI editing commands on terminal. As mentioned earlier, when you enter the VI mode, it is in the command mode by default. In order to add content, you need to press the I key on the keyboard, and only then you would be able to write something. Otherwise, if I go ahead and type in hi right now, I would get the error buzz on the system. VI editor does not display any change on the screen when you jump from the command mode to the insert mode or vice versa. This is an important point to keep in mind while you are editing or creating files on the VI editor. So let's press I and add some content. Once you are done writing the content and you want to save the file, you cannot do so in the insert mode. You need to jump back to the command mode to do so, and in order to move from the insert mode to the command mode, you need to press the escape key on the keyboard. Once you have done it, you will no longer be able to write or edit the file. So let's say I want to open a new line when I am in the command mode. I need to press the O letter on the keyboard, and the VI editor would open a new line for me in the insert mode. I can go ahead and type in more content in here. If I want to undo all the changes to the entire line, I need to go back to the command mode by pressing the escape key and then press the letter U in the upper case. This way, all the changes made to the entire line would be reverted. Now let's say if I want to write after cursor, I can press the letter A in the small case when I am in the command mode. Once I do it, I can go ahead and write the content again. Make sure that you press the right command, otherwise you will end up making undesirable changes to the file. These are some more of the commands that you can use in the command mode. Let us now learn how to move within a file. You need to be in the command mode in order to navigate in a file. The default keys for navigation are K, G, H and L. Or you can also use the arrow keys on the keyboard. Let us try some of them. Right now I am in the command mode, Now I can always use the arrow keys to navigate within a file. Otherwise, you can use the L key on the keyboard to move right, the H key to move left, the K key to move up, and the key J to move down. This is how you can navigate in a file that you are editing. When it comes to saving and closing the file, you should be again in the command mode. The keystrokes are, so if you want to save the file and quit, you can either use the Shift plus ZZ key combination, or you can use the :WQ. If you want to save the file but keep it open, then you can use the :W, or if you want to quit without saving, :Q is the key combination. So let us go ahead and save this file that we have created. In order to do so, we will press the escape key to enter the command mode. Once done, we will then press the Shift plus ZZ key combination and we would return to the terminal. The other method to save and exit the file is by typing in :WQ when you are in the command mode. Once you have typed it in, press enter and you would return to the command prompt. Now in order to view the file that we created, we need to type in cat space file new, and here is the file that we made. This is how you can use the VI editor to create a new file or edit an existing one. Let us quickly recap what we learned in this tutorial. The VI editor is the most popular and commonly used Linux text editor. It is usually available in all Linux distributions. It works in two modes, command and insert. Command mode takes the user commands and the insert mode is for editing text. You should know the commands in order to work on your file easily. Learning to use this editor can benefit you in creating scripts and editing files. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I would see you in the next one. Welcome to the video tutorial on shell scripting. Operating systems are made of many components, but their two prime components are kernel and shell. The kernel is at the nucleus of a computer. It makes the communication between the software and the hardware possible. While the kernel is the innermost part of an operating system, a shell is the outermost one. A shell in a Linux operating system takes input from you in form of commands, processes them, and then gives an output. It is the interface through which a user works on the programs, commands, and scripts. A shell is accessed by a terminal which runs it. When you run the terminal, the shell issues a command prompt, which is usually the $, wherein you can type your input, which is then executed when you hit the enter key. So if we type in the pwd command and hit the enter key, the output or the result is thereafter displayed on the terminal. The shell wraps around the delicate interior of an operating system, protecting it from accidental damage, hence the name shell. There are two main shells in Linux. The first one is the Bourne shell. The prompt for this shell is a $, and its derivatives are the POSIX shell known as SH, the Korn shell also known as SH, and the Bourne again shell also known as Bash, which is the most popular of them all. The second one is the C shell. The prompt for this shell is the %, and its subcategories are C shell also known as CSH, TOPS C shell also known as TCSH. We'll discuss Bash shell based shell scripting in this tutorial. So what is shell scripting and why do I need it? Writing a series of commands for the shell to execute is called shell scripting. It can combine lengthy and repetitive sequences of commands into a single and simple script, which can be stored and executed anytime. This reduces the effort required by the end user. Let us understand the steps in creating a shell script. First, create a file using a VI editor or any other text editor. Second, name the script file with an extension .sh. Start the script with the # followed by shriek followed by the bin sh path. Write some code. Save the script file as filename.sh. For executing the script, type bash followed by filename.sh. Here, the hash sign followed by shriek is an operator called shebang which directs the scripts to the interpreter location. Let us create a small script using the VI editor. We'll start with typing VI followed by the file name. Do not forget to enter the sh extension. By pressing the I key on the keyboard, we'll enter the insert mode of the VI editor. Let's start with the script. You need to start your script with shebang sign followed by the bin sh path every time you create a shell script. Let's type in the command and quickly go ahead and save this file. Now in order to run the script, we need to type in bash followed by the script name. Again, do not forget to type in the sh extension. Upon hitting the enter key, we would see that the command ls is executed. Commenting is important in any program. In shell, the syntax to add a comment is the hash sign followed by the comment. Let us understand this with an example. So let us create another sample script. Now we would again start with the shebang sign followed by the bin sh path. Let us execute the command pwd. Now here we would like to add a comment which will tell us that the pwd command stands for present working directory. Let us quickly go ahead and save this script. Now upon running script1.sh, we will find that the pwd command was executed, but the comment present working directory was ignored. Moving on to what are shell variables. As discussed earlier, variables store data in form of characters and numbers. Similarly, shell variables are used to store information and they can be read by the shell only. For example, this piece of script creates a shell variable and then prints it. This is a small script which we will create and it will use variables. So let us start with creating the script. We'll start the script as usual with the shebang followed by the bin sh path. Now let us start with writing the script. As we have completed writing the script, let us go ahead and save it. Now let us go ahead and run the script file. For this, we need to type in bash followed by the script name, which is easyscript.sh in our case. Once we hit the enter key, the script starts executing and it asks us, what is your name? We will type in the name Guru99. Upon hitting the enter again, the script now tells us how do you do and it echoes our name. Let us put in good. As you can see here, the script repeats the remark that we have entered. This is how we can create script based on bash shell. Now this is a simple script. You can develop advanced scripts which contain conditional statements, loops and functions. Shell scripting will make your life easy and Linux administration a breeze. Let us quickly recap what we learned in this tutorial. Kernel is the nucleus of the operating systems and it communicates between hardware and software. Shell is a program which interprets user commands through CLI like terminal. The Bourne shell and the C shell are the most used shells in Linux. Shell scripting is writing a series of commands for the shell to execute. Shell variables store the value of a string or a number for the shell to read. Shell scripting can help you create complex programs containing conditional statements, loops and functions. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I would see you in the next one. Welcome to the video tutorial on PERL programming. PERL is a programming language specially designed for text editing. It is now widely used for a variety of purposes including Linux system administration, network programming, web development, etc. Perl is of great importance in a Linux operating system where it can be used to create programs, handle databases and emails, graphical user interface development, and networking and system administration. Even though shell scripting is available to programmers, they prefer Perl because programming on Perl doesn't cause portability issues, which is common when using different shells in shell scripting. Error handling is very easy on Perl. You can write long and complex programs on Perl easily due to its fastness. This is in contrast with shell that does not support namespaces, modules, objects, inheritance, etc. Shell has fewer reusable libraries available. Nothing compared to Perl's cpan. Shell is less secure. It calls external functions, for example commands like mv or cp. On the contrary, Perl does useful work while using internal functions. Let's learn how to create a Perl script. You should always start your script with shebang user bin Perl. It directs the execution to Perl interpreter on your system. Now let's learn how to add a variable and input or output it on Perl. So if you want to define a variable value, you need to use the syntax variable is equal to value, and this way you can store the values to a variable in form of string and number. When it comes to displaying a string or value on the screen, you need to use the print command. It would output the string or value. And if you want to assign input to a variable in Perl, you need to use the stdin operator. So the syntax is variable is equal to stdin. Now let us go through some important points. Add a comment on Perl with the hash symbol. Remember that every statement in Perl ends with a semicolon. Perl is case sensitive. Make sure you use the right case. You can use any text editor to write your Perl scripts. You should then save the script file in .pl extension, which will make it recognizable. Make sure you do not use spaces when you are naming the Perl script file. Now let us understand the steps in creating a Perl script. Create a file using vi or any other text editor. Name script file with extension .pl. Start the script with the shebang sign followed by user bin Perl path. Write some code. Save the script file as filename.pl. For executing the script, type bash space filename.pl. Let's write a Perl script which will take input from the user and display it back through the script. So let us go ahead and create a new Perl script file on VI editor. As discussed earlier, you need to start your script with the shebang sign followed by user bin Perl path. Once done, hit enter and write the script that you want to execute. Now here's the script that we want to run. Now as we are done writing the script, let us go ahead and save it. Now is the time to run the script. For running the script, you need to type in Perl followed by the script name. Once you hit the enter key, the file would ask you for an input. So it says, may I take your name please? Let us write our name, Guru99. Once you hit enter, the file returns the input value by displaying our name. So this is how you can create Perl scripts. Let us quickly recap what we learned in this tutorial. Perl is a general-purpose programming language originally developed for text manipulation. Now it is used for a wide range of tasks including system administration, web development, network programming, GUI development, and more. Perl files have .pl extension. There are three types of variables in Perl: scalar, lists, and hashes. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I would see you in the next one. Welcome to the video tutorial on virtual terminals. Linux is a multi-user system which allows many users to work on it simultaneously. So what if different users need to work on the same system at a time? How do you do that? This is where we need the virtual terminals, so let us learn about them. Virtual terminals are similar to the terminal that we have been using so far. They are used for executing commands and offering input. The only difference is that you cannot use the mouse with the virtual terminals. Therefore, you need to know the keyboard shortcuts. They are one of the most distinguished features of Linux, as virtual terminals enable a number of users to work on different programs at the same time on the same computer. So let us learn how to launch a virtual terminal. The steps to launch a virtual terminal are: press the Ctrl plus Alt plus F1 key combination on your keyboard, enter the user ID and password, and you would be good to go. Let us try it on Ubuntu. So let us go ahead and press the Ctrl plus Alt plus F1 key combination. As soon as we do it, we see the login screen for the virtual terminal. So let us put in the user name. Upon entering the password, we would be able to log in to the virtual terminal 1. As usually, there are 6 virtual terminals on a Linux operating system, and you can log into them as different users to conduct different tasks. You can navigate between the 6 virtual terminals using the following command. It says Ctrl plus Alt plus F1 to F6 key, F1 being the first while F6 being the last virtual terminal. You can work on all of them at the same time. In order to know which virtual terminal you're working on, note the TTY given at the top. So right now we are working on the first virtual terminal. So if you want to switch to the second virtual terminal, you can press the Ctrl plus Alt plus F2 key combination to navigate. Pressing Ctrl plus Alt plus F3 key combination will take you to the third virtual terminal. TTY is the teletype number, which you can also know by typing the command TTY on the terminal. So right now we are working on TTY1. It is important to note here that you need to log in to each virtual terminal to be able to work on them. The 7th terminal is the one which we have been using so far in the Linux tutorials. It can be accessed by using the key combination Ctrl plus Alt plus F7. So let us try it on the operating system. So pressing the Ctrl plus Alt plus F7 key combination would take you to the terminal window on the screen. These are some of the shortcuts that you should be aware of while working on the virtual terminals. So using the Home or Ctrl plus A key combination would move the cursor to the start of the current line. Reset would reset the virtual terminal. History would list the commands executed by the user. The arrow up shortcut would scroll up in history and you need to enter to execute a command. Ctrl plus D would lock you out from the virtual terminal, and using Ctrl plus Alt plus Delete key combination would reboot the system. Now let us try some of them on a virtual terminal. Let's start with the history command. Entering this command would give us all the commands executed by the user in the past. Now if you want to clean the virtual terminal window, you need to type in reset. In order to run the commands from the history, you can press the arrow up key and you would be able to see all the commands used in the past. You can then hit the enter key and the command would be executed. Let's say we want to use the echo command with this string. But here we have misspelled the word echo. As we cannot use the mouse with virtual terminals, we need to use the left and right arrow keys to navigate. Or I can simply press the home key and it would take me to the start of the current command line. Pressing end would take me to the end of it. So let's say if I want to remove this letter, I can take the cursor to the letter and then I need to press the delete key and it would clear out the wrong letter. If you want to autocomplete the commands, you can press the tab key. So if I type EC and press the tab key, the command would be auto-completed to echo. This is how we can use the virtual terminal shortcuts. So let us press the Ctrl plus D key combination and log out from the virtual terminal. Let us do a quick recap. Virtual terminals are CLIs which execute the user commands. There are 6 virtual terminals which can be launched using the shortcut keys. They offer multi-user environment and up to 6 users can work on them at the same time. Unlike terminals, you cannot use the mouse with virtual terminals. To launch a virtual terminal, press Ctrl plus Alt plus F 1 to 6 key combination on the keyboard and use the same command to navigate. To return to the home screen of the Linux system, use Ctrl plus Alt plus F7 and it would take you to the terminal. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I will see you in the next one. Welcome to the video tutorial on Unix administration. As Linux is a multi-user operating system, there is a high need of an administrator who can manage user accounts, their rights, and the overall system security. You should know the basics of Linux admin so that you can handle the user accounts and user groups. In Linux, every user is assigned an individual account which contain all the files, information, and data of the user. You can create multiple users in a Linux operating system. So let us learn the different ways to do so. Right now we only have one account under this Linux operating system. Now we will go ahead and add some more accounts to it. Let's start with terminal. Now in order to add a new user account using terminal, you need to type in this command. It would be sudo space add user space the new username that you would like to add. Once you hit enter, the terminal would ask you to enter the password for the new account. Let us enter the password. It will then ask to retype the new Unix password. Once done, it will ask you for the full name of the user. We will use SAP space 99 in our case. Now it says room number. Let us put in 101. The work phone, you can put in any number of your choice. Put in the home contact number. Then other, you can leave it if you want. Press the Y key on the keyboard if the above given information is correct and hit enter. Once you see the command prompt on the terminal, it means that the user account has been created. So let us check it on the system. In order to check the user accounts present on your system, you need to go to System Settings. Then you need to click on User Accounts and you would be able to see all the accounts present on your computer. So now here it shows Guru99 as the administrator and SAP99 as the standard user. The other way to create a user account is by using the GUI. In order to do so, you need to click the unlock button here and then put in the password to authenticate. Once authenticated, you need to then click on the plus sign here to create a new user. Now as you can see, a new window has popped up here and it would ask us to fill in the information for the new account. The account type offers two choices, standard and administrator. If you want the new user to have administrative access to the computer, select administrator as the account type. Administrators can do things like add and delete users, install software and drivers, and change the date and time. Otherwise, choose standard. Let us now go ahead and fill in the full name as Java99. If you want the username to be different as your full name, you can do that too. So let us put in Java100 here and click on Create. The new account would show, but it would be disabled by default. To activate it, click the password option and add a new password. Then retype the same password and click on Change. This way, the new account would be enabled. Let us now learn how to delete or disable an account. So let's say we want to remove the SAP99 user account from the system. In order to do so using the terminal, we need to first remove the password information for the account. This is the command that we would use to do so. Now let us run it on the terminal. On hitting enter, the terminal would ask you for the password. On entering the password, terminal would say that the password expiry information was changed. Now all you have to do is delete the account and we will use this command to do so. So let us go ahead and delete the user account SAP99. So if you check the user accounts window, you would see that the SAP99 account has been removed. In order to do so using the GUI, you need to go to the user accounts window again and click on the unlock button. Again, put in the password for authentication and then highlight the account that you want to delete. Right now, we want to delete the Java 99 account. Once highlighted, you need to click on the minus sign here, which will delete the selected user. Click on it and then the system would ask whether you would like to delete the temporary home directory and mails pool files or keep them. Right now we do not need the files, so we'll click on delete. Once done, you would see that the Java 99 account has been deleted. Now to add a user to a group, you need to use the following syntax. It says sudo space usermod space -a space -G, then the group name, then the user name. You can view the existing groups on your Linux operating system by entering the following command. It says group mod, then press the tab key twice. Now let us go ahead and add the user group mail to the user account guru99. Enter the password for authentication and the user group would be added to your user account. You can check whether the user is in a group by using the command cat space etc space group, and you would find that the user account guru99 has been added to the user group mail. For removing a user from the user group, you need to use the following syntax. It says sudo space del user space the user name, then the group name. So let us try it on terminal. Now for removing the user account guru99 from the user group mail, we need to type in sudo space del user space the user name, which would be guru99, then the user group, which was mail. And as you can see here that the user guru99 was removed from the group mail successfully. If you do not want to run commands on the terminal for managing users and groups, then you can install a GUI add-on. The command for the same is, so let us go ahead and install it on the system. Once you hit enter, terminal would start installing the GUI add-on, and it would ask you whether you would like to continue the installation. Press Y and hit enter. This would install the GUI add-on on the operating system. Once the installation is complete, you need to go to dash and type in user. Then click on users and groups. Here you would be able to find out all the user accounts, and you can click on manage groups to manage the groups that they are a part of. Moving on to the finger command, it is used to procure information of the users on a Linux machine. You can use it on both local and remote machines. The syntax finger gives data on all the logged users on the remote and local machine. The syntax finger space the user name specifies the information of a specific user. So let us quickly recap what we have learned in this tutorial. You can use both GUI or terminal for user administration. You can create, disable and remove user accounts. You can add or delete a user to a user group. Let us go through the commands as well. Sudo space add user space the username adds a user. Sudo space passwd space -l space the username disables a user. Sudo userdel space -r username deletes a user. Sudo space usermod space -a space -g in capital letter followed by group name and then the username adds a user to a group. You need to use sudo space del user space user then the group name to remove a user from the user group. The finger command gives information on all logged users. The finger space username gives the information of a particular user. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I would see you in the next one.